Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, I call into order the special call workshop meeting of the Commissioners Court of Hood County, Texas. We're here at the Emergency Operations Center. Today is June 18th. It's 11 o'clock. And the purpose of this workshop is to discuss various radio options for all law enforcement and first responders for the county and city, and consider different options for the financing of those radios, which I understand is a special real discount, right? Look at this. Okay. All right. How do we want to begin with this? Ron, you kind of.
Yeah, I kind of asked for it. What I had asked for, as you know, we had purchased radios for the sheriff's office, and the constables had come to the court to ask for additional radios, and there was some discussion over how many more radios do we need and how do we want to finance them. And so what I've asked the sheriff to do, and I think Chad too, is we want to hear from different options that we might have that purchasing radios and going over the number of radios that we do need for all departments, including the fire, EMS, constables, DA's office, and talk about the whole package of how we can acquire the radios with the proper capabilities of those radios. What do we need? What I want to hear from the departments. What's necessary? What do we need in these radios as we're going into the future? Is I understand there's options about what these radios are capable of doing. So, Sheriff, we either ask you or I know we've got Motorola here. We might start with them to tell us what you guys do and how you do it and how you can do it for the county and set your radio system.
Yeah, real quick intro from last week. I'm Sean Scott with Crosspoint Communications. I'm a manufacturer rep for Motorola. Real quick with me, Casey Moore, account manager from Motorola. Jake Price, VP of Sales for Crosspoint Communications. Brad Rice, area sales manager for Motorola. And Alan Gurdon's joining everybody here today from the city of Fort Worth, because what we'd kind of like to talk about real briefly, we've got a few slides. We're not going to do a death by PowerPoint or anything like that, but we want to talk about a few things that we've done in the past, that we've talked about in the past with Hood County. We spent Tuesday, Lieutenant Sigler was kind enough to take us around, show us a couple of different sites, wanted to double check what we've looked at in the past. We talked briefly in our last meeting about the regional interoperability and regional system, and so that's what we're going to kind of talk about now. And then of course we can get into the actual radio piece of it later and talk more. So just a big picture overall, what we've got and how we're going to, what things look like. And above all, I want to make it very clear that questions are encouraged. I mean, we're here to help you, to help answer questions from everybody, and that goes for users, both from the PD and everybody in the county. So we want to make that very open and clear. And Judge, one point of clarification. You asked me last week about Erath County and if they lease with us. I was wrong. They did a direct purchase. We did work up a lease for them, and they ended up going ahead and direct purchase from they did that on their own. But Ellis County, Waxahachie, and I've got a list in here that we'll talk about later of who all has done leases with us and that kind of fun stuff. So, like I say, I'm going to ask Casey to jump in and help fill in, because there's a lot of information here, and I'm not going to say that I can remember it all at the same time. So,
and just real quick, Casey Moore, Motorola. Our goal objective is to let the county have all the information, make an informed decision, whatever that may look like. We're just here to help answer questions. It could be anything from the radios to the technology you have today to moving forward to a regional system. We're not here to try to guide that one way or the other. We just answer questions, provide our experience and our expertise, but we're here to help support you guys, whatever that may look like.
So, as I mentioned, Lieutenant Sigler was kind enough to take us around. We got to ask some questions pertaining to the current system and the current situation. And please, Chief Galvin, Sheriff, if you guys correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not fully up to speed on everything that you have. So if I say something out of line, please correct me. So we have a current system that's various mixed systems, using all different frequency bands in the county that is used for public safety, VHF, UHF, and 700. So those in itself pose an interesting situation, whereas it's when you have each one of those frequency bands, it's like everybody being on a telephone, but everybody's on a different line. Okay, so each one of those frequency bands being operating in the county at the same time means I have to have a different telephone each time I want to talk to a different frequency band in order to be able to communicate. So that in itself is a huge challenge. Mixed encryption, DES in use by the city. The sheriff's office has AES in use at least on one channel, as well as DES. So we have mixed encryption capabilities, then a mixed fleet with mixed capabilities amongst that fleet. So we have some radios that may be P25, or most all of them are P25 capable, but some of them may have trunking capabilities, some of them don't. Some of them have AES, some of them don't, some of them have DES, some of them don't. So mixed fleet, mixed capabilities, basically nothing that's entirely standardized. Is that a correct assessment, guys?
So which ones have the trunking capability here is it city or?
I don't know. Well, I think
you said
the sheriff's
some of them
office.
do. Who is it?
No, I don't believe there's anybody that has.
There's not
trunking.
anybody in the county as far as you know.
Maybe it's, because sometimes the manufacturer will have the capability in the radio, but you may not purchase the option.
Correct.
But we're not using it right now.
Correct, and we do have those radios that have that option, and the city, all of theirs, I believe, too, but it's not active. We haven't paid for that.
Okay. So, and Casey, for those of you that don't know, Casey came from the engineering side of the house of Motorola, and so Casey's going to step in here with commentary as far as the technical side of things. But UHF is still being used as backhaul, which is fine in an analog situation, which is what most of the counties operating in right now, or that it's being used for these. But it can be difficult to use these type of links for backhaul when we go to digital. Okay, so that is an older technology that can pose difficulty. Casey's that's very
Yeah, I mean, it's a legacy technology that works fine for the application, but technology's progressed. It's, we're not here to say don't do it. It's just
Let me ask something, is the goal here, chief and the sheriff, y'all want all of the law enforcement constables and police department, sheriff's department, to be on the same frequency? To have the same type of radios too? Is that a benefit for all of
I don't
you?
know if it's necessarily the same frequency, but having the ability to communicate amongst each other is.
That's the
plus.
being able to talk to everybody.
So that's what it is. So would that be having the same brand of radio, whether it's Harris, Motorola, or Kenwood, or whatever?
Just the radio has to have that whatever system we're on has to have the capability.
Correct.
To work off that.
So the infrastructure is the main key. As long as the system, the backbone of the system is compliant, is P25 compliant, subscribers can be of any brand as long as they meet the infrastructure requirements.
Sean, maybe pause real quick, and what Sean's talking about is the Association of Public Safety Communication Officials, APCO. They've established a industry standard of how different vendors can work together. So it's a common platform. It's called Project 25.
Right.
So you'll hear us say P25, but if it's a P25 compliant infrastructure, any manufacturer's subscriber that's P25 compliant can work on that and interoperate with it. Then it lets the customers, the users, decide what product do they want best. So we're going to walk through. The slides are going to lay out. We want to capture what we think we have today, what we think your goals, your issues, your challenges face today, in ways that you may be able to solve those, and that may be, from a small scale, maybe up to a large, system going in part of the regional system. But a big part of it, we're just here to help answer the questions, explain the technologies, explain what your options are, and then you guys walk away and make the right choice for the county.
Hey guys, if I do, apologize, Judge. If I say something like that, use an acronym, please stop me because I got off on that pretty quick.
But like I know for the sheriff, he's got how many radios that he's kind of need on this handout here. Do you need how many radios do you need, chief? I mean, would we all be able to pool our resources like Chris and the mayor and I happen to be talking about? all buy our radios
Our
together?
radios are already capable of doing anything that we choose to do across the board. So I'm not gonna have to buy new radios. All my radios are ready to operate off the trunking system, 825, 700, it doesn't matter what it is, our radios.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had that worked out for quite a while, and when we had the protest here the other day, then, we were able to communicate. We don't have everybody 100% up to date, but we had stuff patched together in dispatch, so, we've got those. So let them go through their stuff, and then we'll talk about where we're at. That was just a summary that I gave you the other day of what we did in the county.
Well, I'll keep going, a lot of them about radios.
So-
Like one.
Hey, many years ago, I knew how to push the talk, and that was my
Yes, yes.
extent of radio. So
Okay.
I've learned a lot. So we sat down, talked with different folks, and of course amongst ourselves. And one of the primary goals that we want to discuss is seamless interoperability within the county, making sure that interoperability of the city being able to talk to the county, the county being able to talk to the fire departments, the fire departments being able to talk to the city. That's a difficult challenge. It can be. So we want to make sure that is simple. Change the channel, talk to whomever we need to talk to. Standards-based direct interoperability within the region. Now, that goes back to what the sheriff just mentioned a few moments ago, talking when other agencies come into the county to help out with protest or you go to another area, being able to communicate directly with them without having to have special equipment to do so.
And without a patch, right?
And without a patch.
Yeah, whenever you get on a common system that has the same standards base, then there's not necessarily, the patch becomes actually the system connecting the audio together versus a manual patch, which I'm not gonna get into the technical piece, but there's some big differences buried there. And I would just also want to go, this is our view of your goals. Your goals may be different. Some of these may get right on what you're trying to do, but based on our experience working with similar sized agencies and counties, and then our time spent here the last week and talking to folks that did the last proposal, this is what we view your goals as. But if we're missing something or if it's not true, I think after we get through our presentation, it's important that that's going to help drive what your decision will end up being ultimately.
And then talking about coverage, we haven't had anybody specifically say that coverage in the county is bad. But one of the things that we have some stuff we'll look at here in a few minutes, but being able to communicate from a radio with that portable radio on the hip. Most guys use a remote speaker mic now when they're working, so the radio stays on their hip. We've all seen the guys on TV doing what we call the Statue of Liberty. They're holding the radio up in the air trying to get a signal. That's not a good thing. We want to keep that radio on the hip, keep their hands free for other things. And so we looked at coverage throughout the county. How can we provide that portable radio coverage on the hip? Of course, pricing is always an issue. It'll always be an issue. And so we've come up with ideas for competitive pricing in an effort to try and make things a little bit easier. Future-proof investment, everything in technology is always changing. So it doesn't matter what you buy today, tomorrow there's going to be something newer, better, faster. So that's a difficult thing when we're talking about a radio system and as expensive as it is. Motorola has a path for keeping this technology current and keeping the system upgraded so that we're not doing a forklift overhaul every 2, 3, 4, 5 years or 10 years. Unfortunately, we've all had the days when we would put a repeater out somewhere and we just let it run until it died. With this technology, this is more like a computer, more like your laptop or your iPhone. When you've got to do updates and system updates and software updates, that's all part of this. So we have to keep it current. Of course, current challenges, we've already mentioned this, lack of interoperability within the county and with neighboring agencies. That's something that we're going to be able to address. Multiple RF bands in use, disparate radio systems and different frequency bands, and lack of system monitoring and ongoing maintenance. One of the things with these new systems that we're able to do, we can monitor each site individually. We can see what the individual repeaters are doing. We can see what the individual power supplies are doing. And if there's a problem, we get a notification about that. You will know that there's a problem before we go, hey, I can't talk. So that's a huge issue in today's world of technology. Being able to know there's a problem. And sometimes if there's a problem, if it's software related, we can get in and fix it by remote, and we'll send you an email that says, hey, this happened and we fixed it for you. So that's something that we don't have currently. Guys, am I missing anything in those challenges? Okay. So, talking about the regional interoperability system, Fort Worth stepped off and has made huge strides in assisting the region with interoperability. The plan, one system, one goal, this is something that's been on the state agenda for a long time. We still have multiple systems throughout the state, but we're seeing these systems grow larger and they're working to connect together. And so we have a very nice system here in our own backyard that would provide us the tools we need to make this happen. And we're going to talk about that some more, and I'm going to ask Alan at any time, please step in and correct me if I'm wrong or add commentary to what I'm saying. So Fort Worth, the biggest thing is that the contract that they've negotiated for purchasing power is huge. They're leveraging not only their own purchase, but every purchase made by subsidiary agencies, that are part of the system. So that is a huge benefit that your county would be able to take care of or take advantage of as well. System upgrades, they're on a program that every other year the system goes through upgrades. Everybody within the network, within the system, goes through upgrades every other year. That's what helps keep everything current and operational. And for as far as we can see in the future, that's how, this is the system that will operate. Governance. The City of Fort Worth system, the governance committees that are involved, each system owner that has infrastructure as part of the system gets a seat at the governance committee table. So if Hood County was to add infrastructure, then you would be part of that committee that helps govern the entire system, okay? This is a model that, the City of Amarillo is taking and applying to their system. It's done elsewhere. Their MOUs, their governance that they've already have in place is being used elsewhere. Also the plan, the interoperability plan that they have. So the idea of being able to communicate not just across the city or the county, but across the region is a plan that is second to none across the country. And so having said that, I'm going to back up here. And we mentioned this briefly the other day, but there was a pursuit that started in Grandview, and this is a condensed version of it. The actual audio for this is 15 minutes long. We didn't want you to sit here, so we've condensed it down to actually about 3. Of that pursuit, it took place in Grandview. It ended in Grand Prairie. So this is a quick little video of that, so you can kind of get an idea of what regional interoperability is and how it works.
North Central Texas and regional area is the 4th largest metropolitan service area in the United States. We operate a Project 25 system with multiple system owners, and previously we had disparate systems with disparate technologies.
If you build it, they will come. We built the Field of Dreams, and many agencies have now arrived. I'm so very excited to see a level of cooperation that our work has brought to North Texas. We had a pursuit that was a shining example of the intended purposes of this interoperable communication.
This is Grandview Police Department to all agencies monitoring the law. We're in pursuit of a robbery suspect northbound FM 157 from Van approaching Fort Worth, Tarrant County. The several units in pursuit of a red Hyundai FM 157 northbound out of Venus. Units in pursuit of aggravated robbery suspect armed and dangerous. Grandview Police Department, El Reno Police Department, Johnson County Sheriff's Office. Any agency available to assist.
Very positive. We are actually broadcasting out to our units now in case you guys come to head towards our city.
For FM 157 at Mountain Creek at this time.
157 Mountain Creek.
Yeah, so dispatch to Grandview.
Go ahead.
157 northbound from Mountain Creek. We do have units in route to that location at 157 and 287. We do have a unit with spikes also.
Just keep relaying locations. I'm on the channel with another agency. We'll have 7 units around. We're calling it on, calling channel 1, northbound 287. 287. Northbound 287 now, Mansfield units are in pursuit. Arlington, Grand Prairie on a radio, looks like maybe it's 360. Going up to 360, they go northbound. Air 1 might be available. Northbound Grand Prairie in Tarrant County. Southbound 360. Southbound 360. Southbound 360. Southbound 360. Southbound 360. Be advised, everyone's coming out for work. Southbound, approaching 287. He's on a dirt road to the east. 287 dirt road east. Be advised, everyone's coming out for work now. Ron Davis. Davis. We're getting reports of 2 detained, that's their location. And so the units on Long Island call, be advised 2 detained, 1 resisting, custody of our location. That's Ron Davis. Ron Davis, 2 in custody, 1240. Ron Davis. Forward there, when I'm clear, there he is, outstanding. You still in there? 17 or units 10-2. 10-2, copy at 28. Air 1, Mansfield dispatch, Air 1, you copy, you can clear. Show 2 custody testing. Air 1, clear. Your assistance. Mansfield or any other units, you don't have any reports of any crashes to the office? None since we observed it. Good job, guys. I appreciate all the hard work.
So, there's more? Okay. Sorry, I stopped too soon, guys. My apologies. Got to the
In 25 years of emergency communications, I really never believed that I would experience a day where the Grandview Police Department, chasing an armed bank robbery suspect, would be able to directly communicate with so many other agencies. By my count, Grandview, Johnson County, Alvarado, Mansfield, Tarrant County, Grand Prairie, DPS, and Fort Worth all successfully communicated during the pursuit. Many others were able to monitor and be aware of the event should it turn towards their municipality.
So guys, that's a 15-minute pursuit, condensed down into just a few minutes. But a couple things to talk about specifically to this that is applicable to Hood County. This pursuit, you hear one of the guys say, notify Grand Prairie and Mansfield. They were already listening. They were able to listen to the pursuit. They knew that it was coming, and they were already positioning themselves, saving several minutes of time. Dispatchers didn't have to pick up a phone and call and make that slow transition. They already knew what was happening. Fort Worth PD already knew what was happening. Air 1, those guys already knew what was happening. They were getting, spun up to assist as well. The officer in the pursuit kept driving. He didn't have to change channels. He didn't drive out from under his coverage. He was able to focus on his pursuit and keep rolling and know that he had help coming. So that's what the benefit of the regional system is. Those interop talk groups spread out throughout the entire network, and I'll show you a map here in a few minutes that kind of shows the coverage area of that. But that is what true interoperability is. So this is a quick list of some of the agencies, not a comprehensive list by any stretch, of everybody that's involved with B25 and Motorola in the North Texas region. We would certainly like to see your name on that list as well. And if you guys, need reference information, you want information, want to speak to these folks directly, we'll help you to set that up as well. The Fort Worth regional system, the big number there, and Alan, we're up to more than 147 right now, aren't we?
155.
155 agencies, over 30,000 users on the system currently. So when we sat down, we took a look real quick at coverage based on previous proposals, based on what was done in the past. There was 3 site simulcast with a optional standalone site in the southwest corner of the county. This is what portable on the hip coverage would look like. Not bad. I would ask the sheriff or Jeff to comment on coverage or even Chad to give us an idea of if that is better than what you currently have, because I can't speak to what you currently or directly have. Next slide, or the next picture, is actually mobile coverage based on that infrastructure setup. It saturates the entire county. So mobile radios, your vehicle mounted radios, saturates the entire region. Now the next map is what part of being one of the main benefits of being part of the regional system. This is what coverage will look like. We're still working on Waxahachie and Ellis County and some of the Dallas stuff, but this is what that coverage would look like from a regional perspective. As I mentioned before, those interoperability talk groups spread throughout the entire network. If you get called to go help the city of Arlington, they got the Super Bowl decides to come back to town, your guys can do that. If you need help with another protest or another wildfire or a flood, they can come here and help you without having to do anything special to communicate with your officers. This is just a quick thought process. We're not going to get into this level of detail unless you guys really want to dive into how difficult it would take to make, what it takes to make it work. It's not difficult. We can do it.
Cranberry.
Where's that at? That was the site that was picked on the cemetery. That was on the proposal before.
Typo, cranberry.
That's what it said on the proposal. All right, give me a bad. That's on me. I pulled it straight from the previous proposal.
John, I think you can write that off now.
Take that one out. Never mind. Next slide. So,
Great tower there.
yeah,
that tower changed since the last.
Yeah, it's a motel.
We put a brand new tower.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, because even we said the other day when we were talking with Lieutenant Sigler, we kept saying that. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll take you over." Okay, he never corrected us, so it was a typo in the previous proposal. So we'll talk a little bit about Motorola Lease. As we mentioned previously, Motorola has leasing financing solutions in-house. It's called a lease in an effort to try and not go directly against. You can use it as operational funds, treat it as an operational expense. These are some of the bullet points. Financing 100% of the project. There is a non-appropriations clause built in there that is very specific for the state of Texas. And then the option to be able to buy out the lease at any time. So buy out the lease while the equipment is yours. You continue to operate and function as normal. Every manufacturer has a specified lifespan on their equipment. And I will venture to say, especially after the site walk that we did the other day, there's Motorola equipment that you have today that's operating well past its published lifespan. Okay, so to be able to purchase that equipment, buy out of the lease at any time with no penalty, and still keep that equipment and still continue to operate. Jason?
Yeah, I mean, in this lease purchase, it's whether it's subscribers, infrastructure, or what have you. If you're interested in a trade-in, you want to own some part of the portables or mobiles for so long and trade those in at the end of the lease. If there's a newer model, we can structure it. We have the flexibility to do that. This thing is geared and designed specifically for municipalities.
Counties, municipalities, and then this is, again, not a comprehensive list, but a list of some of the agencies in Texas that have taken advantage of this. There often are questions of whether a county can or cannot engage in a lease. We've done it across the state. As you can see, if we were to get a comprehensive list, we're going to be over 200 million in projects that have been funded in the state of Texas. Yeah, 10 billion since 1980. Motorola has financed 10 billion in projects across the country since 1980. So, and this list is within the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, so we have our own credit arm within the company, extremely competitive rates. It's an option. It's just, you guys have mentioned the interest in a lease, and is there a way that we can spread the payments out, maybe stay current with technology? There definitely is a way to do that with the portables and mobiles. We'd have to figure out exactly what the goals are. We also have our upgrade agreements. If you were looking more at the system view that we just walked you through, it's just lots of options, lots of potential flexibility. We just want to have the information out there in front of you.
So again, guys, I didn't want to do death by PowerPoint this morning. I wanted to give you a quick overview of the regional system, talk a little bit about what's out there and what we're capable of doing. and, be here to answer, above all, answer questions. If we wanna look at some of the stuff, we need a little bit more time to dig into things, work with the sheriff's office, work with the constables, the city, whomever else we need to, whether it be road and bridge, whomever else we need to get involved, we're happy to do so, and make this your system. Okay. With that, Casey,
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna circle back on the lease piece. One thing I failed to mention is we run promos, different, depending on the time, different incentives. And one we currently have is 0% for 15 months. So, that's available as well.
So-
The deferred payment is deferred.
yeah,
Put you out to, budget cycles to help spread.
get you into the next budget. We know this is not something that you're probably already in the current budget cycle right now. We can start, we can get moving. Build out time for something like this is gonna be a year to 18 months. So that takes a while to get things done. So we can go ahead and get started. And then by the time the first lease payment's due, we already hopefully have a system that's either close to being operational or operational. Brad, Jay, anything to add?
And that's for subscribers as well. I know we talked about those scenarios of a system upgrade to be able to bring into the latest, greatest technology and utilize the regional approach, but there's also that same option for subscribers if you guys are wanting to continue as you are now. And like Casey mentioned, part of this is to look at what the immediate needs are, and then also maybe help guide on some future planning, some improvements to be made for efficiencies and interoperability along the way. So that's really our role. I feel like we should be coaches and guide, help you make informed decisions. So that's what those scenarios.
To be part of the regional program, we'd have to be involved with, tell us, is the city part of the regional program? Is there anybody involved with the regional program in Hood County? Not yet. Then what would that, layman's term, what does that take to be part of it?
City of Crescent is involved.
City President Radio. There's users of the system that become part of it, and they just own radios, but that requires infrastructure to provide the coverage and the capacity. So smaller agencies like President, just Whiteside and Ainsville, Benbrook, they can join with those radios. Larger counties, or the counties, larger cities, they'll typically bring infrastructure. So Arlington, Grand Prairie, Johnson County, they'll actually buy the infrastructure to provide the coverage and capacity, and that's more of what we were explaining here. And when you do that, you're part of the regional network, you're part of the committee. Alan spearheaded this many years ago, brought the groups together. It's well defined. If you're an infrastructure owner, you're a committee member, you have a say in how things are done. So it's just an option out there for you.
And Commissioner, that's what starts for Hood County. If the county works versus the countywide system, that's when all the agencies within the county can join that, and then they'd be part of the system too.
And then the other thing is, I understand Granbury's got a different vendor, but the P25, there's options to connect together. The system we just expanded, the regional system, to what we call Motorola's Critical Connect, and it can interface. We have there's an interface that connects two different vendor systems together. All of these things become available to you if you're part of that. There's some additional work that has to be done, but there's features and functionality that are available to further help.
In answer to your question, Mr. Chief Becker over at the Crescent Volunteer Fire Department has radios as part of that system.
Have y'all been able to figure out what this might cost in the ballpark?
So I'll let Casey and Brad kind of step in there. We've kind of studied it, looked at it. Things have changed greatly. The biggest part is we don't have enough answers right now, Commissioner, to give you a firm answer on that. We need to see the sites. As mentioned, the city's made improvements to the site in town here, so that's going to change what was done previously, because I know that there was shelters that were going to be moved in order to facilitate that site and this, that, and the other. So there's different things that we don't know right now, and so I don't want to give you a number and it be way low, or give you a number and it be way high right now, to be honest. If you give me a couple more weeks and we get some more work done, I can do that for you. But
we're really not tied to any particular manufacturer of a radio to join this as long as it's P25. And, you know what here?
Correct. B
Radios
twenty-five.
themselves. So it wouldn't necessarily, we have to get rid of all the radios we've got and get specific radios to join this.
Right, if you were to work with us on the infrastructure with Motorola, that's the key part to connecting the Fort Worth to make all of that work. And then users like, local agencies already have competitive radios, they would work on that system as long as it's P25.
And so we've got, I've volunteered for Fort Worth, we've got, agencies out there that are using P25 compatible radios from all different manufacturers, Harris, Tate, E.F. Johnson, Kenwood, as well as Motorola. And one of the things that we tried to do, for one thing, to keep the system as attractive to our agencies as possible, is that we've worked with these manufacturers to try to come up with discount programs. We've got a good one with Motorola right now on radios. It's a 20% discount off the HGAC cooperative pricing. That's available to any member of the Forward system. We've worked with some of the other manufacturers to get discount programs that are exclusive to Forward. So you've got your choice as long as it's P25 compatible, and we're always working to try to keep the prices and the costs as low as we can.
So there's two separate subjects, buying physical radios and then joining the regional system. So that's our choice.
The trunk system is the backbone that we need to invest in. Without it, there's no connectivity to anything.
Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
That would allow, even internally, between constable, sheriff, city, fire, it's not necessarily trunking so we can talk to Fort Worth.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's just for your own operability, yes, sir.
And then that also provides the mutual aid capability outside of.
Outside.
If y'all don't know, I'm Douglas O'Neill, I'm the system manager from Johnson County. For those of y'all who don't know, a conventional system is like I hand you two cell phones. And you can talk to each other. When somebody else wants to talk, you have to hand that cell phone off to somebody else. Because there's only one frequency available for that conversation. For a trunking system, it's just like your cell phone. You pick it up, you call somebody. Somebody next to you can pick up the phone and call somebody using a totally different infrastructure. When you hang up, that line's available for somebody else to make a call from a different group. So you're basically sharing resources. So if you have 3 channels for the sheriff, and 3 channels for the city, and 3 channels for fire, instead of having 9 channels, you could actually have all that in 4 or 5 channels infrastructure in a trunking system.
It's a great efficient way to.
So it allows you to share the infrastructure resources much more efficient than having a conventional system.
I went to Roger, long ago, basic trunking system, what you have available. You don't wanna do it? You can do this a lot of times, you got a control channel, you got sub repeaters, which handle the traffic.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry, Richard Cell, the radios.
Richard is who we've been using for a number of years to buy radios from and service our stuff here.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's trunking system, are who. I don't know if y'all, trunking system comes from tree trunks, the idea, branching off. It's kind of like a phone system. My grandfather had a phone system. We had a 200 line switchboard. You can only make 20 calls at a time. Okay, you could have 20 conversations on a switchboard, even though we had 200 phone lines out, which carried the traffic most of the time. The telephone companies, they don't put you in for one-to-one, you know, if you had 4,000 phones, you'd have to have 2,000 circuits of one-to-one talking to each other, guaranteed. Okay, it is sharing resources, but there is limitations on sharing resources of the repeaters, I mean, numbers you have. If you like to show it, I went through it with Roger before. It's the same thing.
So trunk systems, as Richard mentioned, it's a sharing of resources. I always equated it kind of like the sheriff's office is always talking. They're always out doing traffic stops and they're working. And at a point, they're using 100% of that radio channel. And at a point, the sheriff's traffic gets busier and busier, and he needs 120% capacity. Fire departments, they're only using about 40%, 50%, and these are hypothetical numbers I'm making up just for an example. They're using 50% of their channel capacity. So that extra 50% that's not being used in a trunk system, the system allows the sheriff's office then, because they need that extra 20%, to use that other channel and use that extra space that's not being used. So as you add channels, you add capacity for everybody in the network to share. Okay. So you can do trunk systems locally. You can have a single site, one tower that does trunking. You can have two sites that get together to improve coverage and increase capacity, if I can talk. And then you can have systems that are linked together, as we've talked about here, that grow that footprint. And similar to a cell phone, as you add towers, you increase your footprint and your coverage, and I can drive further and I can talk more. And that's when you're part of a bigger system, part of a regional network, that's how you go about, growing that footprint. So it is completely scalable technology. And let's say in 10 years, Hood County, which you are one of the fastest growing counties in the state, I think the system's proposed 6 channels right now. If we need 5 more, we need 2 more. That can be added at a later date to add that capacity for the county to be able to grow and continue to operate.
Lots of flexibility. The technology is there so that TDMA, so even since your last proposal, there's TDMA that's been added to the system that what that does increases channel capacity. I don't want to get hung up on the technical details, and as an engineer, I can definitely take you down a rabbit hole, but I'm not saying that. But there's just, if you look across the landscape of who's doing what out there, trunking it makes the most sense. There are absolutely limitations. There's only so many frequencies available. There's only, so many channels. There's only so much traffic you can get across the control channel, things of that nature. But for you guys, what makes sense, like in Ellis County, almost identical to what you guys are doing here. They have a few more sites, but very simple topology, sharing with the cities, Midlothian and Waxahachie, and the counties come on board. Very similar model. They have 6 channels. They put in TDMA to double that capacity. These are all standard based. If that infrastructure were to go in, like we talked about, the PD's radios, like some of them already equipped, they could operate right, with just a program you change, operate on the new infrastructure, and then you have that direct operability. It is a big expense, and we really don't want to throw out a number without sitting down and ironing out some more details. We've done a solid design in the past. We're confident in it, but there are things that evolved since then from a technology standpoint. How many users would actually be on the system? But we can absolutely very quickly get you a very firm price for you to consider, and then you can look at the spectrum of, you get this much for just upgrading your radios, you get this much for maybe expanding your conventional system, you get this much capability for moving to the regional system, and you have that spectrum of what that would cost, and we have ways to help you finance that, but it ultimately comes down to where you guys are at in the level of service, and how you guys handle the taxpayers' dollar.
Are there fees associated once you buy the radios? I know that Kathy has noted someone that was with Johnson County said that they would charge fees per radio. Is that?
Alan,
I'm sorry.
I'll repeat the question. Yes, there are fees, and it's part of being on the regional system. The fee structure is different. I'll turn over to Alan to explain what that is.
So the way we have to set up with our regional partners, like Johnson County. The partner provides all of the radio towers, all the transmitters that they need to provide coverage in their area. But they use what we call a core that's provided by Fort Worth, and the core is the network of computers and network equipment that makes all the towers and transmitters work. It's the brains of the system. So there's a cost that we incur to provide our partners that access to the core, and so we have to recover that cost. Today we charge $2 per radio per month. So if you had 500 radios in Hood County, the cost that you would see from Fort Worth would be $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year. We would, the other piece that you would see, Sean mentioned about the upgrades. We upgrade every other year. And so we have an agreement with Motorola for those upgrades that happen every other year. We've consolidated all of our partners' cost for that system upgrade agreement into Fort Worth, because by doing that, we're able to get about a 15% discount. We need more, about 15% discount for everybody. So we get those invoices from Motorola. We take dollar for dollar. We take the amount that's attributable to your equipment, your towers, and your transmitters, and your dispatch consoles, and we send you an invoice for that. There's no markup. There's no profit. But we do that to make sure, for one thing, like as I mentioned, we get discounts. The other thing is that we do want to make sure that all our systems are kept up to date, so that we've made these huge investments in these radio systems. We bought our first piece of it back in 2010, and that piece is still in our network, but it's at current levels. In fact, I think it's even been replaced a time or two through these upgrades. So that's how we protect our investment, and that's the other cost that you would see from us. So it's a $2 fee. It's a cost of the system upgrade agreement, and that's it.
I'd like to hear from the city and the sheriff. Is that something, but I'm a novice, I don't know what you're talking about, just let you know. But is that something important to you guys to have that type of capability?
100%.
And not
We've been
necessarily,
trying to get it for so long already, it just hasn't been able to work out, but this is extremely important to everybody in this county.
between the departments, not necessarily outside the county, right?
Just even outside the county.
Even outside of the county.
Absolutely. We don't have a fence around the county where we don't live. So if something happens here and goes somewhere else, we've still got to have that capability of talking to whoever county or jurisdiction we're moving into. So yes, this is extremely.
Is Motorola the only one that offers this type of service, Mr. Radio
Like
Man?
he says, they've got, what they got, ICCI?
ISSI.
Have you got the interface of somebody else?
We do. They have a complete ISSI system coming off both cores. So the cores are actually redundant. I mean, Fort Worth and Irving partnered. There's 2 master sites. Catastrophic failures still work. All the systems in the region will still stay operational even if some catastrophic event happened. And then we have the capability to have an ISSI connection to another P25 manufacturer
The way I
system.
heard it was, we're gonna bring in, or I think it's cool.
I don't know if I follow, but yeah, there's always a central switching office that's routing the audio and making decisions on which channel assignments and such. But
And multiple layers of
ISSI is available.
multiple layers of local redundancy as well. So even if something was catastrophic happened to the main core, there's multiple layers of redundancy.
Well, they had their own, it's got their own controller.
Answer one of the questions about costs and things, and one of the things I talked about, the infrastructure that everything's built off of is Motorola. As long as you have that, the city already has their radios that have the capability. But one of the things I think is neat, the offset cost that the county has, is like when you look at what's going on in Johnson County and fees on radios, and whether you use dispatch services or you don't, but to be on the system within the county, each one of those, and you can speak more on that.
Yeah, I have 2 rate structures in Johnson County because I have 3 agencies that do their own dispatch. So the way I figure my costs is I take everything I owe Fort Worth, everything I owe Motorola, and I divide that by the number of radios. That tells me what your annual per radio cost is going to be. Then I take my dispatch center cost and I divide that by the number of radios for the agencies that use dispatch. And then I add that to the original cost, and that tells them what their annual fee is going to be. So that covers my dispatch center and my infrastructure. One of the nice things, Alan mentioned the SUA2, they just came out last year, and all of my dispatch consoles got replaced by all brand new units for part of that SUA2 upgrade. And all I had to do was unlock the door for them and let them in.
And Commissioner, one of the things that we talk a lot about with customers is as far as being a part of the regional system, the core that Alan mentioned that's in the city of Fort Worth and Irving, that core is a very expensive piece of equipment. and the maintenance cost is even more expensive. Annually, they spend more on that core than they did for the purchase of it, 10 years ago. So, regardless of the regional aspect, which is very important to a lot of people, as they mentioned, it's the cost savings of you not having to have that core in the county is unbelievable every year. So that's really, there's two ways to look at it, but that's a huge piece of it. That's a large cost annually, and a very large upfront cost that you won't have to incur. And then all you have to do is do that $2 a month per radio, which is just significantly less. It's hundreds of thousands of less per year by doing that than it is to have your own.
So let me get this correct, $2 maintenance fee per radio. Every other year you upgrade. That $2 fee takes care of the upgrades, right?
No, sir, those are two separate fees. The $2 charge helps us recover the cost of that we will incur to add you to the regional network. And it's network equipment, it's things that are located that are at our core. And that's what that $2.
Okay. What is a maintenance fee, Jim? How much is a maintenance fee?
Well,
That's a Motorola question.
Well, that depends on how much equipment we put in, how many dispatch consoles we put in.
Is it per unit or what?
No. It would be a system-wide cost. So it's not a per unit cost. It depends on how many sites we put in, how much equipment's there, microwave. If we use microwave, how many dispatch consoles we put in for the sheriff's office. Those types of things.
So the tires we have now will probably not work. You're gonna put your own tires in or something?
Not necessarily. Ideally, our primary strategy or planning is usually utilizing what you have to eliminate as much cost as possible. So we look at what's there already, try to see what impact it has if we move to a different location. But we're trying to use whatever's there to cut costs anytime we can, because it's.
Well, I noticed on your map, the Biloxi area, which is the southwestern part of the county, y'all plan on putting a tire there because that's a dead area.
Well, then good point. The original proposal that we referenced for this discussion today did have a new construction site to be built out there. We don't. I personally don't have enough information to speak to where they looked at previously, but that would be something we would want to look at, and it's something we would need to sit down and look at that coverage. And if that is a dead spot, then we definitely need to address it. Or is it something that, when we look at the coverage operationally, the sheriff and everyone agree that we can forego that site depending on that coverage. So those are the analysis that we still need to do. We still need to sit down and have that operational discussion with the sheriff, fire marshal, EMC.
It's not dead, it's weak.
It's weak. Yeah. And so again, that slide that I showed you earlier, Commissioner, that had that area painted, that did include that site in the southwest corner. So.
And you'll see improved efficiencies likely with the newer equipment that would go to the same site, same location. You're probably going to receive better coverage on that.
Yeah. I mean, the technology's advanced, especially in the digital, and you probably see it on your 700 compared to your analog. The clarity of audio, the extended range. It's a better. That's why we moved to that way. The industry moved to digital. Same reason our cell phones have done it. You can do data. You can do better level of encryption, GPS signaling, all sorts of features. But so that's part of what we want to look at. That understanding exact coverage requirements, understanding goals. And that was kind of we got to get those completely understood, and then we can come back to you with here's a complete design. We can show you the upgrade costs. We can show you all of it to a penny, and then make decisions from there. Because they're big numbers, and you guys may decide to, like Ellis County did, was they made some decisions on, well, these users we may have to handle there because we want to do it, but we may not be able to get there fully right now. But we'll talk to this other group and figure out the strategy for their devices. We're not here to try to tell you how to do that, but we will come back once we get the exact design and tell you, here's our recommendation. Here's what it would look like numbers-wise.
If a radio goes bad, is there a cost in replacing that radio?
We have options on that. So typically we'll put a 3 or 5 year warranty on the radio itself. So any problem, and that's again, it's a cost. There's a difference between a 3 versus 5 year. And once we had all these, if you have 200 radios, that may not be a big deal. If you have 500 radios, that may wiggle the needle enough. You may decide, just like when you buy something personally, if you want that warranty or not. So yeah, we offer that. We offer a comprehensive replacement. If the thing, somebody decides to just destroy it on purpose, we have a plan that will replace it, for life and will cost you you've already paid for that warranty, and we just send you a new one. I'll tell you, the radios are extremely rugged and durable. They last forever. You can go to YouTube and search it and look for, examples of the Apex line of radios where they've been underwater, they've been ran over, they've been shot, they've been destroyed, they've been in a fire, and they still work. They're a phenomenal device.
What's the life of a radio?
So the life they can work. We have our original series still out there, old Apex, what we call our AM versions. They're still out there and working. What happens is the technology advances enough, chipsets get smaller, you can get more memory in the devices, just like your phones. So we've got to keep up with the market and the demand. So we upgrade those products about every 7-10 years. We'll come out with the next version of it. So now we have a BN. AM still work, they're still there, but from a company, we can't support that thing indefinitely. So we'll send a notice out when we do that and say, okay, this product's going to go sunset. We're still going to support it for 5 more years. We'll still complete support and everything, but that gives customers 5 years to figure out what they want to do to get that next one, because that new product's going to have a whole new set of features that are on top of what was there.
Let me add to that though, that it doesn't mean that radio stops working.
No,
Correct. City of Fort Worth's running radios
We
that
got
are
radios that were
15 plus years.
our
maybe
previous generation XTS, XTL line was
I was
still
gonna
out there.
Average life is about 7 to 10 years. In answer to your question, I have radios in Parker County, my home county, that are still operating from when we originally installed the system. And I had one of the guys come to me here not too long ago. He goes, "Hey, this stupid radio battery quit working." I popped the battery off the radio. So that's because it was made in 2006. So, not saying that they're all that way, but they're still using those original fleet of radios from 2006, and some of them are still running the original batteries. So, and again, like Casey mentioned, as technology grows, the design with P25 is to state that these radios would be backwards compatible. So as technology increases, the technology will still work with the radios as we grow forward and move forward. So that's what the ability to be able to change firmware, change software, upgrade, and keep moving forward, keep the radios in the fleet operational going.
Most of the older versions of radios were hardware based. A lot of the actual chipsets or the boards had to be replaced if you wanted to add an option. Everything's moved to software driven, just like your cell phones. And most of the radios are capable of pretty much the full offering of options, and all you do is add a software upgrade that enables that feature. So most of the things that we're doing at this point, including the infrastructure, is more software driven than it used to be. That allows us to keep things current and up to date without you having to do forklift replacements. Have situations like you do now with mixed versions and capabilities. It allows you to keep everything a lot more current and consistent.
So if we don't buy the warranty, if something breaks, we're gonna pay for it.
Well, it's not that you have to just buy the radio. I mean, our radios, we'll sell the extra knobs, we'll sell replacement antennas, we'll sell the face screens, those radios can be absolutely be repaired.
We do a time and material. We can do a repair bank if you said we want to put so much money away and just draw down on that income.
And it comes with a standard warranty.
Standard warranty, and even after that warranty's up, it doesn't mean if it fails or it quits, doesn't mean that it's dead. It can't. Most of the time, it can be repaired. Just like on your truck, when the warranty runs out on your truck, it just costs more to fix it sometimes, but it can be fixed.
Let me ask our guys, maybe we can kind of get to where I think we need to be. We've been basically needing 200 radios, probably half mobile and half portable. Is that close? Within a few numbers, that's what we're looking at. What we don't want to do is go buy something right now and it doesn't fit into a bigger, more expanded regional thing. So we don't want to make the mistake of purchasing those radios. In addition to purchasing, we want to look, can we lease those radios? Is that better than using capital money? That's the hardware of the radios itself. So what I'd like to see, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, is a quote purchasing over there on on that first portion of it. We don't know whether, and we'd like to have the option, are they trunking capability or not? What's the difference in that cost? What are we gonna get for that? Make the people who use it be the determination if they need it or not, or want it, or would like to hear from that. That's where I'd like to see it go, to get a quote. What can you do? And we can give you the list, exactly the number of portables. I think it's pretty close to 200 radios, what we're looking for right now. That takes care of the fire department, constables, sheriff. Those numbers are pretty close, isn't it, Sheriff? About half and half.
Yeah, I've got a handout, I can, whenever you're ready for me to talk.
So that's what I'd like to do, and the same thing with, Mr. Richards, is that it?
Richardson.
Oh, and the same thing, well, I think we need to see for the purchasing, and we'll have to talk to purchasing too. Do we have to get quotes from other people, or can we take a look at, we need the hardware, we need that pretty quick. We've got some time frames, I think, on some of the discounts that we could get if we go ahead and pull the trigger on these radios. So I'd like to see it in court.
And the one thing also is like what you're saying, the trunked option, to be able to go to the regional system and expand, like if we got radios now and did some things, and really start looking at, long term, if we're going to upgrade the county's infrastructure, like we're talking about for the interoperability, I've got to have the trunking options in them. And the one thing that I think is unique, like in Johnson County, they have everybody, every city, the county, road ops, everybody, 5 channels, 2,000 radios, and they all talk on those 5 channels, and there's no interruptions, there's no issues. So there's even things to look at, like whenever, farther down the road, we look at things like road ops and everything else. Once we have things in place for the front system, then we've got one radio communication system for all the fire, all law enforcement, all the cities we have within the county, and then the things that they need, what are their needs that the county can provide and help with that.
I got a question on that trunking system. If you don't key on that trunking system over in the Tarrant County area, you're dead for a while, right? You have to have the radio reprogrammed and all that stuff, or I'm asking a dumb question, I don't know.
No, so the resources that are in your county are yours and they stay there. That connectivity back to the network is always operational. There's always some communication from the network going back to the core. So if the sheriff keys up and he's talking on, and I'm making this up, but SO1, he's talking locally, that traffic stays in Hood County. But if he needs to, or like we saw with the Grandview, that pursuit starts to move, the dispatchers can key up and talk across the network, and those channels are always open and available because they're using various different ways of getting from A to B. And I can get as deep in the weeds as you want me to, but those communication channels are
But
always
my
there.
understanding, if you don't key up into the Tarrant County region, you gotta have it reprogrammed, something, right? I've heard that somewhere.
You're talking about the encryption key?
Yes.
Okay. Talking about the encryption.
Oh, the encryption keys. How is that set up on?
It follows the state plan.
Yeah, I was gonna say it follows the statewide. The state has a plan that outlines how that works. So there's a statewide interoperability plan, but that plan also addresses how the radios are ID'd, and the Fort Worth is very adamant about following that plan. And so I don't know how you're set up, how it works with the encryption keys.
Well, if we're talking about encryption, then,
Do we need that? Are we supposed to have that when we talk to Tarrant County, or? And if
we-
you don't use it, you gotta have it reprogrammed, or what?
So the only time that, so our policy on the common common interop channels, that are used for multi-agency operations is that we don't encrypt those. So if you're on those channels, then you can be anywhere in Tarrant County, Johnson County.
Hood County?
Eventually, if you join the regional system, yes, in Hood County. And you don't have to worry about encryption. If you're gonna share a channel with, say, another agency, a law enforcement agency, who encrypt their channels, then you would have to have the encryption to be able to talk on their channels.
Okay. That's what you're doing now.
I don't know, this radio stuff, you hear this, and hear that.
Ability to change that key over the air too.
Yeah.
You can actually change those keys over the air.
That's what we have to do in the city, isn't it?
Additional cost.
The encryption, you guys are
Overall,
encrypted.
all our radios were encrypted.
You can't talk to them, you have to patch them somehow.
No, we're all the
So you
same.
can?
Cannot.
No, that's what I say, that's what we got fixed.
We're all, it's work, so, okay. The city's got DES encryption, I got the availability of the AES encryption,
And we got a pass.
and, well, then we patched up the other day to tie it together to the VHF stuff. So, the sheriff's office and the police department all work, no problem, and we utilized that here a couple of weeks ago. So, the system, this all started here a couple of months ago, just people needed radios, and the system, so I'll go backwards in time here for a little bit. The power plant started saying back in 2004, 2005, we need to get in step with the times with the P25 system and talk to Motorola. And then the cost started growing and growing, so we had a consultant involved, and I don't remember what year it was, it got to $9 million. So I went to Trevlin Pittner at the time, and I said that this ain't gonna fly. The commissioners aren't even laughing when we bring this up. So he brought a deal and dropped to $6 million. Well, still that was more than Hood County was gonna be willing, and the city of Granbury too was involved in that. So we kind of got off to the side and started trying to do our own system to get up to a higher level, and the thought of getting into Fort Worth, that's always out there, and that would be a great thing, and Johnson County did it. So the future would be, yeah, someday we could ever get there, I guess, so that discussion needs to continue to figure out how to get there. So that's been brought up to $2 per radio, the trunking's part of it. What we've done here in Hood County is, we knew we needed to get to the 700 megahertz, so we've got that. We utilize a lot of different VHF frequencies. The city's on UHF, so we needed to be able to communicate with them. So when I first came in as sheriff, we got analog radios in the patrol cars, able to communicate. They went to digital encrypted, so we got there to that point where we can talk directly to them. There's agencies that aren't there with the constables, and so we're trying to get everybody up to the same page. This started out, this paperwork that I just handed you is mainly my notes, trying to figure out what kind of radios we have and where we're at and what we need. So on the first page, got sheriff's office, fire marshals, the 8 outlying fire departments. I know that from being the fire marshal there for a short period of time, we got 88 trucks that are insured, so I figured a new radio in there, handhelds. So that was 100 approximately. District Attorney's Office, they've got 2 investigators, so 2 mobile radios, 2 handheld radios. Constable's Office, 10 handheld radios, 7 mobile radios. And District and County Bailiff, so total of 190 handheld radios, 163 mobile radios on that second page.
Does that count the constables too, Sheriff?
Yep, that's counting constables too.
Okay.
So on the third page was more information of what we have and where we're at and what the radios cost. Like I said, it started out as just some notes that I was putting together. On the fourth page is some of the law enforcement needs, and I do agree that we need to all be on the same page with what works great to cover the VHF that we have, the UHF that the city uses, the 700 that we're going to have those tri-band radios. So I believe that all law enforcement needs to be at that level. And so I put the packages together. I contacted a number of years ago, and I don't even remember what year it was. We had it was when your predecessor was here, Jeff Tout, contacted American National Leasing. So I've asked them to come today and talk about what they could do. So I put together some different plans to accommodate trunking, everything deluxe, with the radios that we've been utilizing to stay in time with everybody else. So that was a $776,581 cost for financing. Another package without the trunking, $666,605. And then the lowest cost one was $520,307. We dropped that actually on the recommendation on the very last page, taking trunking off of not trunking, encryption off of the fire department radios, because they didn't want to go with that anyway. And that was brought up by the Crescent Fire Department and, some of the other departments just because of the cost of it. So that dropped it down to, $489,507 for the radios that we're utilizing right now. Or $472,540, I'm on the wrong line. So the three different packages, that Mike, you can talk whenever the court wants you, but, so they've got they finance a lot of different things, been in business for a lot of years, cause that's been 5-6 years ago or more when they came down here, so the cost is at 2.99% for financing those radios, and that's, so the very last page of that is all the, 3-year financing, 4-year, 5-year, and the different quote, or, options.
Is that a fixed rate, Mike?
Yes. So, we just, the future of getting into the Fort Worth system is, we need to talk about that, but I knew this wasn't the right time to ask the court for many millions of dollars, so we just need to get to a better, higher level where we can all communicate and be on the same page, so, that's why I put this together, so. But I asked, like I said, I asked Mike to be here to talk about his company a little bit if you had any questions about that. So, Harris Radios don't have a leasing part of that piece. Kenwood is one that we've used for many years. They don't do that either, just buy them outright. Or in this case, this company would finance that stuff for us. And the future of looking for the infrastructure to build it out would be something good, but it'd be lots of millions of dollars down the road, I guess. So we need to keep talking about that, but we need to get to a higher level right now, so I guess I'd answer any questions you got, or turn it over to Mike for the financing part, or whatever it's your court, whatever you want to talk about.
I think with just what we talked about, what I've got a better understanding is there's two pieces of this puzzle. Regional,
the future,
big time future. Right now, immediate radios. I don't want to go buy immediate radios that don't fit into if we go to the bigger picture. And I think that's what you're telling us.
They will in the future. They've got the options, just like.
So you'd have the options.
All the radios we have that we purchased lately, everything that's on here would fit into that system. It might need an ISSI for the total connectivity to the Fort Worth system, but that's part of the future system. So.
For me in the court, what I need is a quote. I know we need to buy radios, and I think we've got the numbers picked out here, and I'd like to we'll give you the same thing. This is what we need to start with. That's phase 1. And also, I think, even though we've got some of it, to understand more about the second phase of this regional thing. What does that cost? What does it take to get there? And maybe we put that in our future plans. But we don't want radios that are not capable of doing that. So we want to make sure we get the right ones now. That's where I'm going. When I listen to the court, you guys go.
That's correct. That's what I wanted. What's the overall picture? What you're looking at.
You know, we need radios right now.
Yeah.
I guess this other deal is, y'all said 18 months to build.
For the system, typically, depends on typical construction delays and towers. If there's towers that are already built, it's usually compressors, things like that.
But as far as, actual radios right now, if we had a list of what the sheriff's looking for and what options he's looking for, we can certainly do that. American Leasing, I know they've done projects on Motorola stuff in the past as well even. We were just talking I did a quote here not too long ago. 2.67 was our rate on a 5-year deal. And then that also included 0% interest for the first 16 months, getting it into the next budget year.
We like that.
And deferred payments for a year. So,
Yeah, I want to hear it.
yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate you guys doing it. Yeah.
You guys evaluate it.
We are under a little bit of a tight. I think we Chad, you can help me out. I think we're going to do something in June if we're going to get a discount on this.
That's correct, because it goes off, Richard, on the 30th, does it not? June 30th, the discount? The trade-in, Richard?
Well, the trade-ins were
On the
always
Harris
there.
drop-in?
We can extend that offer as far as we need to. Now, we do offer financing as well. So.
Good. Okay.
So, I mean, I would welcome a competitive environment. I'm Jason LaPorte with Belfry Harris. Really, either manufacturer can do a lot of what they say, other than the big regional network aspect. But there's ways around that. So I would encourage the county to go to a competitive process.
Yes.
You're gonna get the best deal, and more importantly than that, you're gonna make sure that you're gonna have the right stuff.
Right.
And I would make it a fair, line up the horses and let them run.
Nelda likes that too, don't you?
Okay.
You purchase it, she keeps your eye on it.
That's perfect.
Everybody acceptable with that? We put something together and make sure we get all the players exactly on what we need. And as soon as we can, get back on quotes of what's it gonna cost, a leasing option, and we can make a decision there, can't we? No?
Commissioner, if I could interject here.
Sure.
I know y'all looking at this as two pieces, that's a good thing. If you could go with the 700 megahertz trunk option on all your portables and your mobiles, you can put the interoperability channels from the regional network in your radios as a mutual aid, and there's some cost for using those. So if you ended up having to run over to Johnson County or up to Tarrant County, switch those interoperability channels and still utilize that.
It's about $1,100 a hit, isn't it?
No, there's no charge for it. We don't charge for interoperability.
No, for the trunk you gave, so.
Oh, well, we're
For the hardware, I think, that's what I've heard.
Well,
11,000.
once we get quantities and we we'll put.
I'd like to see both. Yeah, I wanna see both with or without the trunking, and the law enforcement can help us make a decision if that's a need or just a want.
I was gonna say though, it's cheaper to buy the radio with the trunking in it than just to come back in a year and a half and add it.
That's typically true. Second time you have to get it out of the field, there's cost of that, somebody has to program it, somebody has to touch the radio, there's additional costs that they have.
So the more radios we buy, per radio, the trunking system would be.
We can do a better discount volume. If you're looking for 1 or 2 versus 200, that gives us the ability to get into a better discount. The other piece of it is what particular model radio, right? I mean,
sure.
And Jason's right. If you're gonna want to solicit different bids and figure out what's the best for the county, as much detail as we have, what features and functionalities, we have a whole suite of radios that can do a lot of different things. And if you require one that goes 3 meters for 2 hours, we have one that can do that. If you have one that needs to be HAZLOT certified, we can do that. Because those aren't requirements, we're not going to put our higher tier radio cost more in front of you because we want to, compete against the other manufacturers appropriately.
Roger, I suppose that you can handle that, can't you, for handling what are the capabilities that we want on these radios? And Chad?
Yeah, and that's what's pretty well been determined. The city went with the Harris XL 200s tri-bands because they're good radios all the way around. They cover those 3 bands that we're using now. So it'll cover the VHF for the existing channels, the fire department stuff that's still in use, the UHF and the new 700, that covers it all. So the standards of the XL 200 Harris tri-band is where we're wanting to set our sights on.
We offer tri-band radios, not a problem. And that's a function of just your environment. You have a UHF system. VHF is legacy out there. The regional system 7-800. That solves that problem. We absolutely offer products in that space.
Officer, in your opinion, what would be the best bang for a buck, lease or pay for it?
Don't know until we get some more information.
Okay.
Need some hard numbers.
That's what this is for,
I know we
I don't
need
have
to
any
get.
information.
Yeah, well, this number right here, the sheriff gave us 400.
I'll give her a copy of this too.
Yeah,
if I can
400.
Get around there.
Well, does everybody agree that we need 190 handheld at 163?
Well, that's the total that, some of these radios have already been purchased or in place in operation. So that's just the total number of where we're at countywide. Not that we.
We need to know how many we're buying on the deal and what to do. So we're going to get this bidding process. I like that on the thing, but we need to be bidding apples for apples.
Absolutely.
Right, is the deal. So we got to know how many radios we need, how many to be handled, what we're going to have a tri-band or whatever we're going to have, and then throw it out.
Not counting that leasing page on that last
You agree
page.
with that? That's what I thought I've been hearing here. So let's put something together and tell them we want a bid on that. Is that it? That's it?
That back page not counting the leasing stuff.
So the back page, those are not the Kenwoods that you got on there, those are, single band radios.
The fire department, you said something about doing the single band for the fire department, didn't you?
Yes,
That's in here.
that's, yeah, so 8 county fire departments, 82 mobile radios, so those are just single band, that model number's on there, the price for
Yes,
one
sir.
installed. The 100 handhelds, that could go up or down, and the price for one is there. They didn't wanna go with not trunking, but encryption, so those are less expensive than the others.
I heard 8 fire stations for fire departments and there's 9.
That's
We didn't forget
8
about
county departments.
8 county fire
departments.
I understand.
They're separate from the city, they just have the name Granbury.
Sheriff, it's the towers, that included in all that.
So there could be some more.
This is just the radio stuff.
I have no idea.
I think you got 5 or 6 and
I would think that
10.
that man knows how many fire radios we have in the Granbury Volunteer Fire Department.
I don't even know how many trucks they have now.
I said, we'll get them to send you the bill for it. That's all right, we'll get them for you.
That's the problem.
Actually, that is counting part of them, because the insured trucks, the county trucks are included in that.
Including Granbury's?
Yeah,
I know we have the county trucks that are in the volunteer fire department bays.
Yeah.
We have 4 county-owned trucks in Granbury's fire station.
Between the 2 fire departments.
So those are included in that number.
That brings up a whole other
we'll get the numbers.
conversation we need to have a workshop about, is fire contracts and agreements that we have to provide fire service. For the county, utilizing Granbury Volunteer Fire Department, as you've done in the past, but we need to be more equitable what we do.
Make sure the radios are included in there too.
And what you have on here on that last page, those handhelds, those X200 feet, those are not with encryption.
No, not on that last
There's
page.
no encryption on there, so we wouldn't have the interoperability abilities that we just talked about.
Hey, well, encryption's strong.
On the Fort Worth interoperability?
Is not encrypted.
Okay.
Interoperable by definition is not encrypted.
That's why before we put this bid out, I'd like for the people, Sheriff, Chad, even you to get together, make sure we understand what we're asking for, what we're bidding on, so everybody's apples to apples, right, Judge?
That's what I want, apples to apples.
And then,
We know what we're bidding on, none of this,
okay.
Well, you want everybody to have a fair.
fair deal. So that, you know, you're always looking at something, well, that includes everything except that high definition stereo system. Or this is the basic shop system. You go up there and try to buy a car, it's the same thing. I'm good with all of that. We gotta, everything across the board fair as to what we're bidding for, and then throw it open to see what we can get. The same number, so everybody, before we put it out in the bid, lets everybody know what we're bidding on. So no misunderstanding about anything. Okay? That's it.